Yeah, just saying that. Now, names in the Bible are not just names. In Hebrew culture, names are a declaration of the character of that person. So when parents were about to choose a name for their kid, they were also proclaiming the character of that kid for their life. Now, advice for everybody, if you're about to have a baby, think, well, what's the name of your baby going to be, okay? So we don't want it to be... No worries, Leah, I won't say it.
No, you should say it.
What's it?
Weary donkey.
What?
Weary donkey.
Weary donkey. That's Leah. That's the name. I actually like the name Leah. I wonder if there's another meaning to it. Hopefully. We'll pray about it. Now, do you remember the main character in today's story? Do you remember the name of the main character? Who is it?
Jochebed.
Jochebed, thank you so much, Katie. Jochebed is our main character, and Jochebed's name means glory to God. Now, she is pivotal to the exodus of Egypt. Without her, there's no exodus. Without her saving Moses, there's no exodus. Nothing would have happened. And her story, it was meant to give God the glory. And today we're going to look at her life, at the impact that she made by deciding one thing that changed the course of history. And I want to share with you 3 ideas. My first idea is you're one decision away from a completely different life. One decision away from taking a step closer to what God has planned for you. One decision away to not just receiving God's blessing for yourself, but also from blessing other people around your life. One decision from probably not knowing what's going to happen, or from probably not having the whole picture, but one decision from trusting in a God who knows. One decision from letting God into your life. Now, we're constantly deciding what to do. This is not something that is unusual for us. For example, me. On a Tuesday, I usually decide to not bring lunch to work because I like to persuade my co-workers to go for a fish and chips or a Subway or a McDonald's. And guess what? I always take at least 1 or 2 with me to go for like a takeaway. And I won't say any names as well because we like to keep things private. Every day, we're one decision away from eating a salad or ordering a McDonald's. Every day, you make decisions. You made the decision today of wearing what you're wearing. You made the decision today to come to church. You're always one decision away from a complete different life. Moses' parents took the decision that changed their lives forever. One decision that not only risked their baby's life at the time, but probably also risked the whole family's life. One decision that they didn't know what the consequence of it might have been, but one decision that was worth the risk. Now, what are the decisions in your life right now that might look scary? That you don't know the end result, but you have a gut feeling inside of you saying and screaming, just do it. Big up to Nike for that phrase. Just do it. You've been coming to church for a very long time, and every Sunday God speaks clearly to you. You know what you need to do. You know the steps that you need to make, but you're still afraid of doing it because you don't know what the result of that's going to be, how tomorrow is going to look, what other people are going to think about me. I don't know if I should take this step, but you know you have to do it. You know God wants you to move, but at the end of the day, you decide not to do it because you're too afraid to do it. Well, I've got some good news for you today. You don't need the whole picture if your first decision is to just trust in God and to trust in His plans.
Yes.
We're all one decision away from a completely different life. That decision should be trusting God even though I can't see the whole picture. Trusting Him now and trusting Him with the future. Moses' parents, Amram and Jochebed, took the decision to be countercultural. They decided to keep Moses hidden for as long as they could. They decided to fight for their son, to not give in to the oppression and the adversity that their people were facing. They knew their reality, but they also knew a God that was still in control, a God that will not let them down. During the day, they worked for Pharaoh, but during the night, they had to take care of Moses. Now, imagine the fear that they had. What if Moses is crying throughout the whole night and someone hears him? What if the soldiers come and take him away from us? What if we die tonight? Every day for them was the last day because they didn't know what was going to happen after it. The adversity they faced was constant. The pressure of knowing that every day could be the last one. Life can be like this. The constant pressure of not knowing what the medical result might be, or if I'm going to have enough money to be able to buy food for my family, or the nerve-wracking question that people ask, that is, what are you doing in the next season of your life? If you're experiencing this kind of pressure in your life right now, I want to encourage you to trust God with what you have. Stand your ground and let Him do what only He can do. Because the reality is, just like Jacob did, at some point you've got to let go and let God. Let go of your insecurities and let God take control. Let go of the things that you can't control anymore, the situations that are just too much for you, and trust God with them. And my second point today is faith and faithfulness. Now, let's look back at Exodus 2, verse 3. It says, "But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile." As Christians, we have faith in God and we believe that He will rescue us from whatever we're going through. But the question is, are we still faithful even though when God doesn't do the things we expect Him to do, or when the result is not what we were expecting Him to do? Now, this is what faithfulness is all about. It's about trusting God with my situation and still standing my ground if things at the end are not like I was expecting. Jochebed couldn't hide Moses anymore, so she did what she knew best. I let go and I let God take control of the situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with the life of my baby. I don't know if he's going to drown in the river. I don't know who might find him. I don't know what can happen, but I know God is in control. I know God has a plan. So I let go and I let God take control. She didn't know at that point what the plan that for Moses was, the plan that God had for Moses. But she knew that all she could do was trust Him. What are the things in your life right now that all you can do is literally just trust God with? She understood that letting go of Moses would be painful, but she knew that God's plan was bigger and even more important than anything she could wish for or want for. To be faithful to God, to put down what she wanted for what God wanted to do through her. And this is what is the hardest every single day in our daily lives. To put down what we want the most so that God can work in us, through us, and for us. But let me tell you that it's worth it. It's worth it to lay down all our desires, to lay down all our plans, and let God take control of our lives. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, but it was her mother who set the platform for him so that could happen in the future. Yeah. Without Jochebed, there's no Exodus. Without her, there's no Moses. There's no liberation of the nation. And one of the things I love the most about God is that God works through people. Yeah. And God is always working through people. And He does it because He cares about you. And because He cares about the people that is around your life. When you take the decision to put down your own desires for what God wants you to do, you're not just allowing God to come into your life and take control of it, but you're also setting up the ground and setting up the platform for the next generation and your family to walk in God's blessings. Tom Clark, the youth director at HTB in London, once said in the Youth Leaders Training Day, "Let your ceiling be their platform." Let your ceiling be their platform. Jochebed reached her ceiling. God took control, and her ceiling became Moses' platform for the liberation of their nation. What are your ceilings right now in your life? And what are the things that you can set? Give God control and set the platform for someone else to step on. You never know what can happen when you trust God with what you have. When you stand your ground and you let Him do what only He can do. And He will work. He will move in ways that we don't expect and through people that we never expect. My last point is using the unexpected. And like I said before, I love that God moves through people. I love that God works through them. And I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in July 2020, I was coming to the end of my time as an intern at HTB Church. I had the amazing honor to receive 3 different job offers to join the team at HTB in 3 different positions. Now, do you remember what happened in 2020? Yeah, pretty much everybody. COVID happened in 2020. So a lot of things were going on. Everyone was going crazy. We couldn't get out of the country. It was so mad. Now remember, I'm from Mexico, originally from Mexico. So I had a visa. I have a visa right now. So I had a visa to stay here. When I get these 3 job offers, I'm like, sick, let's do it. They let me choose the one I wanted the most. I chose the one I wanted the most. But then what happened was that the visa offices were closed, that nothing could be renewed, and that meant that I had to go back home. So I went back home, heartbroken, sad, and wondering, God, what do you want to do with my life? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Like, I've lived the most incredible 18 months, and now I'm going back, and I have literally no idea what to do. What's next? Now, fast forward to February 2021. I was contacted by a friend again at HTV saying, hey, the job that was offered for you months ago, it's going out again. You should apply for it. So I make the application, I go through the process, but guess what? Same result. Visas are still closed, they can't extend my visa, they can't renew it, it can't happen. And at that point, I'm starting to give up. I'm starting to think, you know what, maybe God's plan for my life is different. Maybe I'm meant to just stay here, go and study graphic design, or do something with my life. Maybe I'm not meant to come back, but I still had that one desire. I knew in my heart that I wasn't finished. But then there was something in me that was also giving up. I remember I was having a conversation with my dad one day, and I said to him, see Dad, I love graphic design, and I love working with young people, but I don't think there will ever be a job or a church that will offer both roles in one. It can't happen. And my dad just sat back and just said, just wait and see. And I was like, oh, come on, I don't need that right now. I can't just wait and see. But he was just like, just wait and see. And guess what? I didn't wait. I decided to move on. I decided to, you know what? That's it. Like, I'm never going to find a job that does this too. So I applied for a university to do graphic design. And when I was in the middle of this application, a guy named Tristan, who at the time was setting up this football charity called Bridge the Gap, sent me a message on Instagram saying, hey bro, I've seen your graphic design work. I would like to work with you. I started working with Tristan. I got to know him. And during our conversations, he told me, oh, I live in Southampton. And I was like, cool. I don't know what's that got to do with me, but cool. Like Southampton, lovely. When I come back to England, I'll come and visit you. And we kept our friendship going. We kept working together. And then in May 2021, my dad sent me a job advert for a church in Southampton, saying that they were looking for a youth pastor and a graphic designer. And I was like, nah, that can't be true. And my dad was like, you should apply for it. And I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. And usually when I say that I'll pray about it, I do pray about it. Sometimes I don't do things. And I was like, okay, Dad, yeah, I'll pray about it, no worries. But deep down, I said that, and I was just like, yeah, it's not going to happen, because in my heart, I didn't want to be disappointed again. I didn't want to feel sad again. And I was like, I prefer to not apply and not do it than going through the same, oh, we can't bring you back, Aaron, so sad, etc., etc. So 2 weeks went by, I didn't do anything, and then I was having another conversation with my parents, and they said, what are you doing? I said, like, well, I don't know. And then they said to me, well, just apply for the job. So I was like, okay, I'll apply for the job. I checked again the postcode, it says SO, and I thought, Southampton, good. Tristan lives in Southampton. I'll send Tristan a message to see if he knows these people or if they're connected or anything. I sent Tristan a message, and he calls me straight away, saying, bro, I know them. The vicar is coming to my wedding. Give me 15 minutes, I'll get back to you. Okay, Tristan. 15 15 minutes later, he calls me back and sends me a screenshot with a conversation he had with a vicar called Ali. I don't know if you know that. And they would like me to apply for the job, and we got on, and I was like, okay, I'll do the application. I sent an email the next day saying, hey, I'm interested in the job. And then at the time, Debbie, who was the ops manager, sends me the list of everything I had to do in order to apply. It was massive, I have to say. My application process was big. So I did it all, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. 2 weeks went by. I didn't do anything because I didn't want to be heartbroken again. And then I got another email from Debbie saying, hey, how is it going? When are you sending your stuff? And I said, oh, I'm about to finish it. I will send it to you tomorrow. So in 4 hours, I came up with a vision of St. Wins Youth and what the plan that we're going to do, because I had to send it to Debbie. I filmed a video at 2 a.m. in my room saying, hey, I'm Aaron. I'm going to do this and that with St. Wins Youth. And so we did it. I sent the video. Next day, Debbie sends me another email saying, hey, we would like to interview you. Are you free tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah. I've got nothing to do, literally. Of course I'm free. So I got in a call with Debbie and Ali. I had my interview, and I was like, okay, I think that went well. 20 minutes later, got another email from Debbie saying, hey, we would like to have another chat with you. Are you free tomorrow again? And I'm like, oh, they're going to say no. Like, you don't say yes that quick, do you? Like, you have to think about it, so surely they're going to say no. So I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll join on the Zoom call tomorrow. And then what happened was that the next day I joined the call, and Ali says to me, well, Aaron, guess what? And I'm like, what? And we would like to offer you the job. And I got the job at St. Wins, and it was amazing. But then the next battle came. Then obviously it was getting the job wasn't the thing. Getting the visa was the main challenge. That was the mountain that we needed God to move. So then we started getting some advice from different people to say hey, can we do it? And basically they said to Debbie, no, you can't do it. You can't bring him back. But guess what? Debbie never takes a no for an answer. And she made it happen. Somehow God used her life to bring me back to England. And I wasn't expecting any of this. I was afraid of what was going to happen. I was afraid of being heartbroken again. But God uses the unexpected. My dad always encouraged me but to never give up. I met Tristan out of nowhere on Instagram, and he happens to live in Southampton. How amazing. He happens to know Ali. But then Ali trusted in a 19-year-old boy from Mexico with a youth ministry and the comms of an entire church that is just launching. And Debbie never took a no for an answer. God moves through people, but God moves when we move. You don't need to wait for them to pick up. You are the move of God. You don't need to wait for things to happen, because when you move, God moves. God wants you to move. If you're just standing still waiting for Him to do something, nothing's going to really happen. But when you start taking steps forward, you're saying, yes, God, I trust you with my life. I'll trust you with whatever happens. I'll trust you with the next step. God will move with you. God moves when you move. You're one decision away from a completely different life. And if you've been a Christian for a long time, sometimes it's good to look back and see how faithful God was. Yeah. To see how good He was back then. So I can have faith again and go for it once more. Because it isn't easy. Life isn't easy at all. There are blessings and battles, but there is a God who's already won it. I was listening to a sermon a few days ago, and the pastor said, you don't have to fight for victory. You're fighting from victory against whatever you're facing, because Jesus already won the battle for you. You're one decision away from a completely different life. Are you going to decide to trust in God with all you have? When you decide to step out, God steps in and He takes full control of everything that is about to happen. And if I know something with certainty, is that God will always use the unexpected. Can the worship team start coming over? Jochebed didn't know where the current of the river would take Moses. She didn't know who would find him. Now, let's track back a little bit in this story. In Exodus 1, chapter 22, we see that Pharaoh said, every boy that is born from the Israelites must be thrown into the river Nile. Now, Jochebed and Amram, they're described in the Bible in Hebrews 11:23. They're described like this. By faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw he was no ordinary child and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. And still, when Jochebed couldn't hide him anymore, she proceeded to do the one thing that Pharaoh wanted them to do at the very beginning. Put the baby in the Nile.
Yeah.
But there's a difference here. She didn't give up. She wasn't obeying Pharaoh's commandment when she put Moses in the river. She was trusting God. She was facing the same situation, but with a different perspective. I'm not obeying Pharaoh, I'm trusting in God. And what I'm putting down is not my insecurities. It's not me being defeated. What I'm putting it down, trusting that God will move and that God will rescue my baby. So she trusts God with Moses. She says, God will have a plan for him. Here you go. See you later, alligator. And guess where Moses ends up? He ends up in the arms of the very people that wanted him dead in the first place. He ends up in the arms of Pharaoh's daughter. And this is amazing because sometimes God will take you to the places that are the hardest.
Yeah.
Even when you put your life in His hands, He will take you to the places that are hard for you. You will still face adversity, opposition, pressure, but that doesn't mean that He's not in control. Because even though I walk through the valley of shadow and death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. David said in Psalm 23, even though things are not going great, I know a God that is greater. Even though I feel oppressed, I know a God who's already defeated oppression. Moses ended in the arms of Pharaoh's daughter, and in the most dangerous place he could be. God showed him favor, and he found love and the right place to be trained and equipped to be the liberator of his nation.
Yeah.
But not only Moses found favor, Jochebed did too. She was given the chance to raise him without worrying for his life. She taught him the stories of his ancestors and of his people. She got to see him grow, but still, at one point in the story, she had to let go of him one more time. She had to say goodbye to Moses one more time and give him to Pharaoh's daughter, so Pharaoh's daughter could be his mom. She had to let go one more time, but her ceiling was Moses' platform.
Yes.
Let your ceiling be their platform. She set the platform for him to do and to be the person that he's meant to be. You're one decision away from a completely different life, and she took the right decision. She didn't know what the end result might be, but she trusted in God and who is in control all the time. And today, I want to encourage you to take that step. To trust God with everything you have. To let go and let God. And I want to encourage you to stand up right now. We're going to go into ministry. And we want to pray for you. Because remember, God moves through people. And when you decide to step out, one thing I love about God is that He also surrounds you with people that will love you, that will encourage you, that will empower you to be with, and that will walk with you through this journey. You're one decision away from a completely different life. And we want to pray for 3 different groups of people this morning. The first one is that you know there are so many things in your life going on at the moment, and that you just need to give them to God. To say, God, I can't control it anymore. I can't hide anymore this oppression, this adversity, this anxiety that's been in me. I can't do it anymore on my own strength. I need to step out. If you're that kind of people, we want to encourage you to come forward because we want to pray for you. We want to stand with you. The second group of people that we want to pray for is that God's been calling you to step out and to take more leadership in different areas of your life. Maybe He's been calling you into a new job, or maybe He's calling you to be part of a team, or maybe He's calling you to simply step out of your comfort zone. but you know you need to do it. You just don't know how you're going to do it. Step out. That's the one thing. If you're going to start by doing one thing, just step out and trust Him. And the last bit is that some people are one decision away from giving up something that may be holding them back from a better life and God's blessing. We would love to pray for you this morning. We would love to stand with you. And Ali's going to come, the team's going to, we're going to worship together. But we want to do it with you. You're not alone. Jochebed wasn't alone there, and she was never alone throughout the whole journey because God was still present. And God is present right now for you. He's for you, and He wants to work in you. So if you're part of this group of people, we want to